Well, another spring ball press conference. You guys have been through a few of these, but um, just kind of the format. We're going to practice Wednesday and Friday of this week, just helmets, and then we'll practice for 4 straight weeks, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. As you guys know, we practice in the mornings, which has been outstanding for us. And then, really the reason we moved it up, we actually moved it up to start Wednesday, tomorrow, was so that we can finish on April 17th. We're going to have kind of a Friday night lights kind of thing, finish up spring ball on a Friday night. How much scrimmage or how much spring game we'll be able to do, who knows? Obviously a lot of people in this country are in the same position. But we will have something on Friday night, April 17th, open it up for the public, and also have all the families in. The reason we moved it up was the next weekend is the Gathering of Nations, and it was so difficult with hotel rooms and just different things going on around here, parking and so on, that I wanted to get it moved up to April 17th so that we can make it a little bit easier. So we'll go Wednesday, Friday. We'll go 4 weeks, 3 times a week. We'll have to make up one practice in there, where 1 week we'll go 4 times to get in our 15 days. Again, it's not quite as dramatic as it was years ago of just going from nothing into spring football. Now it's just kind of the next step. We've been with these kids every day since they've come back in January. Some form combination of either Ben Hilgard and also the coaches. So we've been around them every day, and tomorrow's just the next step that we actually get footballs out there, which sounds kind of strange, but so we'll get started. So much of this now is a lot of it's rehab, which makes it obviously a little bit different how much you can actually scrimmage, tackle full speed, just to kind of get you updated. We have 4 knees, guys coming off knees. Wendell Carter, a walk-on running back, won't do much this spring. Cole Juarez won't do much. He will be full speed in the summer. Dakota Cox won't do anything this spring. And then Caleb Kimbrough is coming off a knee from last spring. So we have the 4 guys with knees that won't scrimmage. We have 5 shoulders right now. Kenneth Maxwell, a walk-on safety that we think's a heck of a prospect, has a shoulder. He'll be able to do a lot in the spring, but not full-speed tackle. Ryan Langford, the linebacker, has a shoulder coming off. He had surgery after the season, played all last year with it. Daniel Henry, who started the Arizona State game, had the labrum done. Aaron Jenkins, the offensive guard, who played a lot early the first couple games, had his shoulder done. And the 5th one is, who did I say? I said Langford, Daniel Henry, Teo Adawan. Not Toye, but Teo Adawan, a walk-on safety. So we have 4 knees, we have 5 shoulders. We have 2 wrists, Juwan Jones, a safety, and Brandon Thielen. And then we have 1 foot, and that's Cole Gauchi. So all of those guys, with the exception of the knees, Dakota, Cole Juarez, and Wendell Carter, Caleb Kimbrough will be able to do some things. Everybody else is going to be out there, but they're going to be limited as far as full contact, full tackling. And that affects us because a lot of those guys are defensive backs and safeties. But the good news is there's nothing that's, right now that'll keep these guys from playing in the fall, and we've just got to be smart. So that's a big part of our spring, is just managing how we practice. Some of the guys that I'm excited about seeing everybody, obviously, but we've got some new faces. Taylor Timmons, a defensive lineman, has been pretty darn impressive. His testing, his timing, he's got some energy, really anxious. Taylor Timmons is a guy that redshirted for us last year from NIMI. Lee Crosby a corner from Snow that we redshirted. We're really excited about seeing him. And then Daniel Henry. Daniel Henry, the safety that obviously we thought enough he could come in here and start for us last year. And then we sat him down and he had the labrum done. So there's some guys there that we think are quality players that we're anxious to see. And then on offense, Tavita Fanua, the junior college lineman, Daryl Chestnut, the running back, and then Austin Apodaca, the quarterback, are all new guys that we've been around a lot, but we haven't seen them out there actually in pads. So we've got some red shirts and we've got some new guys that I think can, hopefully really help this football team. It's been a good off season. You always knock on wood every day. You look around this country, there's not a day go by that I don't come in here and, put an example of some things that happen across the country in college athletics that hurts football teams and hurts individuals. But so far, so good. These kids have been pretty darn good. So excited about it. I think we're one step closer to winning. I think the schedule is what the schedule is. It's challenging, but yet we have 7 home games and only 5 games on the road. We've got a good nucleus of players coming back. I'm excited about the coaching staff. We really have one new face, Al Simmons. I like how we've broken up the secondary, with Chuck McMillan with the safeties, in the nickel back, and Al with the corners. This game's become so much nickel and dime, 5 and 6 defensive backs on the field that it makes sense. Obviously the quarterback position is going to be of interest this spring. It's going to be interesting to see. Lamar Jordan is he's a competitive kid. I'm really excited to see him and how he responds. Coming off the year with experience now, also with some competition at the position. I think that's a pretty good combination of guys we had. Apodaca's been impressive. Juwan Lawson's been impressive. Ran probably a lot faster than we thought he was going to run. And then Patrick Reed's a young guy with a lot of upside. So anxious to get going. It's probably the best time of the year to be a coach. You can go out there and build your team, particularly now that we know our team and we know what we have to do to win. And anxious to see if we can go take the next step in this program. I think right now we're all pretty optimistic and pretty positive and anxious to go take our shot. So, any questions, guys?
Does the way he divided the responsibilities between Coach McMillan and Coach Simmons and Coach Cosgrove, does that reflect a scheme change at all?
I think a little bit. I'm thinking about Al Simmons. Rick, I think we're going to – you'll see 5 defensive backs on the field most of the time. Whether you want to call us a 3-4, 3-3-5 or however you want to term it, I think you're going to, it'll be a 5 defensive back scheme as a base. And I think obviously that's what necessitated the change because there's 5 guys out there. So yeah, I think it's fair to say there'll be a little bit of a shift schematically that we've been trying to build to have enough numbers to be able to do what we hopefully are going to be able to do.
Who do you feel you have for that hybrid type?
I think we got a lot of candidates. Ricky Bennett is a young guy that's kind of that hybrid linebacker safety. Played a little bit last year. Lee Crosby's certainly that kind of guy. Ivy Brown, Kenneth Maxwell is a guy that the story. He played at Prairie View as a freshman, transferred over here, had several Division I offers out of high school. A little guy, Jake Rothschiller, a walk-on that's been here for a year now from California. We've got some guys, and that's why we're doing it. You look at the safety position. Daniel Henry's back. Santos is back. Juwan Jones is a young guy that we redshirted last year. I should have probably mentioned him in that mix of guys that are kind of new faces but have been here. We've built it to where we think we have enough quality in the secondary to hopefully take advantage of that and maybe do a little more schematically to take advantage of that.
Do you hope to have the quarterback situation decided at the end of spring?
I don't know. I mean, I'm as anxious, JP, as you are to kind of see how this plays out. Lamar Jordan did some really good things. I think back to over there in our wins. I think back, first of all, down in Las Cruces, with Lamar Jordan on that field taking us down there the last drive of the game and throwing the touchdown pass to Reese White. I think of him over in San Antonio, what he did over there. Up in Las Vegas, taking us down the final drive to win the game. He's a competitive guy that won't back down. And I'm really anxious to see him take the next step. Austin Apodaca, we've watched him forever. We recruited him out of high school. He's pretty impressive. And then, as I mentioned, the young guys, Juwan Lawson, Patrick Reed, Caleb Kimbrough. So it's as excited as I've been, period, at the quarterback position since I've been here. But I don't know. I mentioned to Bob Davie just a little bit ago. We came out of a staff meeting, and I said, it's kind of exciting to think about, who will be our starting quarterback that first series. When we walk out there and play Mississippi Valley State on September 5th, who's that quarterback going to be? Is it Lamar Jordan, because we've seen Lamar Jordan and what Lamar Jordan's done under pressure, and he knows our offense so well? Or is one of those talented guys going to be able to step up and unseat him? So I think for the first time since I've been here, there's some legitimate numbers and some legitimate competition at quarterback, which I think bodes pretty well for the future because they're all back, too. It's not like any of them are one and done. They're all going to be here for a while.
Coach, I noticed Jabril Presley not on the
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's no surprise. We announced that. We knew that at the end of last season. Jabril Presley is back home. He's taken a semester off from school. We expect him to be back June 1st, eligible, ready to go. So it didn't come as a surprise. And, it gives some of those other backs an opportunity. That's something we're excited to see. We do have some young competitive backs, and we do have some speed in that backfield. But we fully expect Jarrell to be back June 1st and ready to go.
It seemed like Lamar's and Cole's skill sets were similar enough that the offense didn't need to change when one or the other was in. If Lamar's number one and Austin's number two, or vice versa, does that still hold?
Yeah, I think so, Rick. And again, we haven't, we've only seen Austin in drills, but we've seen enough of him and that's why we recruited him. He did throw it a lot more, obviously, at Washington State. And at Mesa, they threw it. But he is really athletic. He's the first quarterback I went after when I came here, when I first accepted this job. He's plenty athletic enough. He ran below 4.8 in the 40. So he has the skill set to do exactly what we do. I do hope that, again, I've said this 100 times, that we throw the ball more efficiently. That has to be the next step for us. That doesn't mean we have to throw it 30 times a game. But I do feel like the skill sets of all five of those quarterbacks are more advantageous for us to spend more time and develop our passing game more. Because it's not like a certain guy has to be in there to throw it. I think all five of them can throw it. I think all five of them can run it. And hopefully we just have more conformity at that position. Yeah, they're pretty similar. They really are. Lamar Jordan's probably more change direction on a dime, more you picture what a true option quarterback to be. But I think you'll be impressed with Austin just with his, his length and his quick feet. He's pretty athletic.
Coach, as far as the Friday Night Lights thing, was that instead of doing it on a Saturday, you guys just trying to get more fans to come out, or?
Well, I talked to our team about first of all, I think we can get our work done Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I don't think there's any reason to bring our football team in here in March and April on Saturdays. They do that starting August 1st all year. So first of all, for our team, I think it's something, that I've talked to them about. We're at a point now we ought to be able to get our work done during the week. I do think just Friday night's a good night to end it, and that was our last day of practice. So, not really any specific reason other than that was our last day of practice.
As a head coach, is there a question you hope to have answered come the end of spring practice, or you have an ultimate goal of something you really want the team to accomplish?
Yeah, I think, again, the ultimate goal of all of this is to be able to win in the fall. There's no scoreboard in the spring. So all the little incremental gains you make may not be as noticeable to someone on the outside. If I went through our goals, I would say offensively, starting with quarterback mechanics, throwing the football, just true footwork, distribution of weight, follow through, just mechanics, throwing the football is number one for me. And then on defense, I think it is totally understanding who we are and what we do and just being able to play with less mistakes. When you look back, that's the thing that's gotten us the most last year was how many times did the other team truly not have to beat us? That either we beat ourselves or we, really pretty much that was it. So I think just, offensively, just quarterback mechanics and throwing the football. And then I think the other thing on offense is just to take advantage of our skill set. We've got a lot of guys that kind of run. That's the first thing Al Simmons said when he was at our testing day before we left for spring break. We got a lot of little guys that can fly. And how do we incorporate that into our scheme? Getting the ball in the hands of those guys that can really run in different ways. So I think those two things. I think the third thing on offense is finding a center, truly finding a center. We'd love Aaron Jenkins at some point to be our center, a guy that has 4 years of eligibility that I think can be a heck of a football player. Again, he's going to be slow because of the rehab of the shoulder. But that's what jumps out to me offensively. So it's more each side of the ball, just having your goals of things that you want to see.
Is Matt Quarles a player who could figure pretty prominently offensively?
Yeah, I'm excited. I think when you look at the, we're thin at receiver, but probably the most excited I am about incoming guys as a group is the 4 receivers we're bringing in. 2 of which will be here June 1st. The other 2 will be here July 1st. But we've got a couple exciting guys. Again, I don't think Marquise Bundy has even scratched the surface yet of what he can be. He knows that. We know that. He needs more opportunities, and hopefully we can get more opportunities for him. He ran extremely fast, and Matt Quarles was right there with him. And Matt Quarles is a guy that has as much ability as any young guy I've been around at that position. So yeah, we have 2 guys there, and along with Damian Gamblin, we've got some guys. But yeah, Matt Quarles is, you've been out and watched us practice. He's one of those guys I think that jumps out at everybody that comes out there.
See Chris Lee listed as a defensive lineman. Is that?
Yeah, we've again. Chris Lee is a talented football player. It's a shame. He really only had 2 years to play 2. He really needed to redshirt. We moved him to defensive end. He's about 265 pounds now. He's about as big as Nick DeVonzo. I think it'll help him just in, the learning piece of it. And I think he's more comfortable just putting his hand down. But, he's a full-time defensive end.
Are there any linebackers in there that could figure into that mix in terms of that hybrid guy?
I don't think so. You know, we're looking more for a true defensive back. You know, you look now, just about every team in college football, when you look to the wide side of the field with that ball on the hash, that guy split out there as that inside guy as a wide receiver. You know, very, very seldom is that a tight end, very seldom is that a big guy. That's usually a wide receiver. So you better have that linebacker, whoever that is walking out there, be the same kind of guy. So we have made a commitment to go to 5 defensive backs. So I don't think that, you know, and we kind of recruited that way as well. So that'll be a DB all the way. And I think ultimately what that does is give us the opportunity to line up and play more man-to-man coverage on normal run downs without putting a nickel in there, which is something we've always done. We just hadn't quite had the numbers to be able to do that, but we do now. So, hopefully I think you'll be able to recognize that it, you know, schematically it'll look a little bit more aggressive and a little more tighter coverage because we're not locked into zone so much. So it's no secret, you know, it's a 5 DB scheme.
It's gotta be a coverage guy.
It's got to be coverage first. You know, because if it's not coverage first, you're playing zone every time they give you a certain formation, and we've kind of got locked into that the last couple of years.
How important is the no huddle in making that change?
I think it's a factor. Yeah, you know, again, most of those no huddle teams are the 3 and 4 wide receiver teams, and most of those no huddle teams are the teams that are doing the run pass option stuff where they throw that ball out there quickly and get the ball out in space. You think back to New Mexico State, that was such a big part of that game. So yeah, you know, if you're going to get caught with one personnel group on the field, you better get caught with 5 defensive backs out there and not 4 linebackers. And we've known that. We just, you know, at some point you have to put your best players out there, and we've been a little bit deficient with some numbers in the secondary. But I think we've got it to the point where hopefully we're able to line up and cover some people.
How do you feel about the experience returning defensively? Do you think that will affect the mistakes?
I feel really good about that. You know, first of all, just with the staff. You know, I mean, we've had, you know, really at our level of football, I mean, we've had pretty good continuity as a coaching staff. You know, you look around and there's a lot of changes, particularly at our level of football with staffs. We've stayed the course. You know, we've stayed the course, and I think that helps. We do have a lot of young guys that have played. And when you look at, again, I don't want to even talk about next year yet, the year after, but most of these guys are all back. You know, we really are headed in the right direction as far as that. So yeah, we do have some experience. I mean, it hurts that Dakota Cox is not going to be out there, and Dakota Cox will be right up against it when it comes to September, as to if he'll be back or not, honestly. But you know, Kimmy Carson played every down last year as a freshman, really. Ryan Langford played every down last year as a first-year player. You know, Nick DeVonzo played every down. You know, we've got some experience. We do, and I think that's the biggest piece, because, you know, it's not coach talk. When you look at us on defense, the number of times that we beat ourselves is astonishing, where the other team never actually had to beat us, that we didn't execute or something happened where we sprung a leak in there. And, you know, just by staying the course and continuing to get better at what we do, continuity on the staff, I think we can alleviate that.
So it's on the kicking off and punting, and you have Rogers from last year, of course, but is it still going to be pretty much the same?
I think the kicking game, as far as kickoff, I think Jason Sanders can be a star. He's got a strong leg. I also think he can be a star field goal kicking.
So Jason will be the one kicking off?
He's got to win it, but Zach's got it. You know, we put Zach on scholarship. We love Zach,
right,
but Zach's got his work cut out for him to hold Jason Saunders off from being that field goal guy as well. Now, Zach is a punter. I think it's going to be hard to unseat him. You know, Sam Gentry's been around here a while now, and he's worked at it, but Zach's pretty darn good as a punter. Romero, our deep snapper's back. So we're pretty solid there in the kicking game. You know, and we've got some returners. We desperately need a punt returner. Desperately need a punt returner. You know, we thought Gamblin could do it for us last year. He had the mistake against El Paso there at the end of the game, and honestly never recovered from that. So we had devoted, and he had devoted a lot of time this time a year ago, and all of a sudden, that was over when he dropped that punt. So we really need a punt returner. Man, we've, you know, I think one thing, I don't have the exact stat here, but, you know, we were number one, I can get it, but we were number one in the country in runs over 60 yards, I think. Number one in the country in runs over 50 yards. Maybe number two in runs over 40 yards. I mean, we were the most explosive team in the country last year on big plays running the football. And also kickoff return. You know, we ran one back against Wyoming. We ought to be really good in the return game and really explosive because, you know, I've said it before, we have some guys. We have some guys that can run in this program. All right, man, how we doing? We ready to go?
Ready to go,
All right.